Go.
This is Chitra Saxena, Vice President of IASNM. Supporting this event, we have Deepak Behra, Nuclear Medicine Physician, IASNM Executive Team Member, known consultant in the field of nuclear medicine and clinical research. And today, he is our gracious super webcast sponsor. It is IASNM mission to promote the exchange of ideas, knowledge, technical expertise by welcoming speakers in our webinar named Chai with Scintillating Stars. Today is my privilege and a true honor to introduce a true friend and an inspirational, creative, visionary, and compassionate leader in the field of nuclear medicine, Mr. Peter Webner. Peter's career path is quite impressive, and he has held numerous leadership positions, starting from the technical field and rapidly moving up to becoming a CEO of Zeonexa and currently serving as GM role in breast oncology at GE Healthcare. Must be quite all right, Peter. So I would like to introduce you and welcome you to our Chai with Scintillating Star. You have had an astonishing career. Can you please take us on your fascinating, successful, and passionate journey? Your start in the field, what really inspired you and enabled you to reach your milestone, Peter?
Chitra, Deepak, thank you so much for the opportunity to chat with you all and hopefully help some aspiring nuclear medicine people continue down their pathway in this really fascinating field. You know, growing up, I was born with a septal defect in my heart. So I went to physician offices pretty often for follow-up and, you know, the normal stuff. It wound up closing up on its own, but had lots of x-rays and, you know, in the 60s, 70s, we didn't have ultrasound or any of these technologies we have today, but I was always fascinated. I actually started off pre-med and was in my 600 person chem lab and sat there and said, you know what, there's got to be a better way. This doesn't inspire me, and wound up really wanting to do something in the radiation field. And nuclear medicine was the most fascinating to me because of the combination of both biology, radiology, imaging. And back in the days, we developed films. It was, you know, part photography in what we did. What really got me interested in this was, you know, the impact we have on patients, and not only just cancer patients. And we do infection imaging, we do cardiovascular imaging, we see patients with gallbladder issues. So for me, you know, some people specialized in cardiology, some people specialized in purely oncology or thyroid. I was always kind of a generalist in the field. I was started off as a grunt tech, and I guess my bosses saw some promise in me, and they made me their fireman. You know, whenever there was a problem, they threw me into the breach. And I guess I'm the type of person that refuses to give up. You know, growing up as an immigrant, you know, son of immigrants to the country, you know, there was no safety net for me. So it was always in the back of my mind that you can't fail. You have to find a way. You know, some people see obstacles. I try to find the opportunities. I try to find ways around things. And really the thing that keeps me coming back are patients. You know, when I was a technologist at the hospital, you know, when I first started, those 5-10 patients I saw every day, you know, some of them would come back every year for the thyroid scans or whatever else. It was really fun getting to know those people. And then later on, as I was able to manage the department, you know, I had impact on all the patients. And when I was more involved in radiology, realizing that, back in the hospital that I used to work at, we did 10,000 chest x-rays a day. Yeah, a month, sorry. 10,000 chest x-rays a month. When you look at that volume, it's neat to be able to impact that many lives in some way. That's what keeps me coming back is, the patient. It's someone's mom, someone's sister, someone's brother. Once you get to be my age, you get to have your nuclear stress test, and it virtually all lives are touched at some point by imaging.
Thank you, Peter. Absolutely. I totally second. I've known you for so many years, and yeah, I truly believe that, what you just said. So if you were to go back in time, Peter, what would you do differently?
It's hard to say don't have any regrets. I can say that I've made a lot of mistakes, but I've learned from all of them. I think that's the key thing, is owning them and going back and figuring out how things went wrong, how you can do better, how you can change that challenge into an opportunity. I think probably the one thing that would have been nice if I could have was I never finished my MBA. I got roughly 3/4 of the way through, and had some financial challenges because healthcare costs for my first kid. So didn't have the spare funds, so did not do that. But at this point in my career, I don't see that that's been any sort of a limitation for me. I've had the opportunity to take some courses at Harvard and lots of continuing ed. If I would say one thing is take every opportunity you can for additional training and additional learning, because at the end of the day, it helps your own personal brand. And that, I think, is the one thing I can say I did right. Anytime that I was given an opportunity to take a class or learn a new technique, I jumped at it. Again, it's a lifelong learning journey, especially in medicine, especially where we are. I mean, there's new probes coming out. There's new imaging technology, new software, and 5 or 10 years ago, maybe I might not have been quite as optimistic about where our field was going. But I think in the past 10 years, we've seen tremendous growth in new products, new technology, and better ways to help people. So, I think it's probably my one thing I would have redone is just finish that part of my education, finishing the MBA at that point. But again, I think I've made up for it in between with taking classes here and there and learning opportunities and doing webinars. There's tons of online educational resources now. So when I have an accounting problem, I go to my friend YouTube, and there's usually some classes there where you can get past it and find a way, or phone a friend.
That is very true. All the resources can be, it's always available, and you can learn so much from it. And the way everything is evolving right now is, and truly, I'm sure you have done much more than MBA, in your role. So,
I guess you can say we're all somewhat self-taught.
yes.
I think that the key thing is you have to embrace sometimes being outside of your comfort zone. If sometimes we just stay in our lane, we just stay where we're comfortable. I think that's one way where I've really been able to educate myself is, trying to do things that I've never done or never contemplated doing. If you would have asked me 20 years ago if I'd be where I am today, general manager of a division of GE, I never would have contemplated it. I would have said, "Oh, there's no way no way I would ever be able to do that."
Mhm.
But through various opportunities, I found myself here, and again, hindsight is always 2020. But again, I think being comfortable with being uncomfortable sometimes is a good thing.
Agree, agree, fully. So who is or was your role model in this journey? A mentor who had influence on you during this successful journey of yours?
It's a good question. And again, I think I've had multiple mentors through my journey. Um, Early on in the hospital, my coworker, my manager, I had many people, Mark Delaney, who ran nuclear and then ran radiology for a while in Mount Sinai, helped guide me. Dr. Shankar Valabashulu taught me radiopharmacy, known him since 1985. Um, Coworker John Hart, one of the rules of getting ahead is, find a coattail to latch yourself onto and ride it as far as you can go. And my team, when I was at Mount Sinai, I had a lot of great teachers. Dr. Shankar was one. Uh, Mitch Muzinik taught me quality control of imaging devices, learned how to back up computers. I never had my own PC until I wound up at a hospital. Again, mid 80s. They were just starting to find their way out there. And I think what I've been able to do everywhere that I've moved on to, all the various startups, I've really, one, found someone to kind of help elevate my knowledge, my skill sets. When I helped start Eastern Isotopes almost 20 years, over 20 years ago, John Zaner and Anwar Rizvi learned a lot of uh, business techniques, um, business learning from those guys because they were entrepreneurs by heart. And I think that's been where I've been blessed is, every place I've gone to, I've surrounded myself with people that are smarter than me. Uh, this current venture, Deepak has helped me tremendously, helping crystallize the messaging for the product, helping really understanding how to best approach the oncologist with the concept of something that they may not even have thought of up until now. And I think that's key. I don't know that I've had one core person that's been kind of my compass, but everywhere I've been, I've really been able to identify a couple of people that have upped my game and helped me move forward. And I think probably the biggest jump in my career was working with Dr. Shankar, in a small startup in the Bronx, putting together new drug applications and getting drugs approved by the FDA, which I think was probably the biggest turning point in my career. Getting that knowledge and taking that and bringing that to the next couple of startups.
Agree. What a fascinating journey with tremendous mentorship that you had, and I totally agree. So holding a CEO position and leading your team during an unprecedented time where history is being made, how did you apply leadership in crisis? And what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, let's talk about feeling comfortable about feeling uncomfortable. There's no playbook here. I think we can all reflect on how the pandemic, how the public health crisis has affected, our personal lives and our professional lives. I remember last January talking to uh, my boss, who is based out of Europe, saying we need to really watch this. We're not, this one, started hearing the information out of Asia, hearing numbers, and watching the news, saying, well, nah, it can't be that bad. It can't be that bad. It can't be that bad. And then March 16th, pretty much everything went on lockdown here in the US. I remember that day because it happens to be my wedding anniversary. It's really challenged me in a tremendous number of ways. One, not being able to be in the field with the team. Two, helping them through their own challenges Again, some of them may have family issues. It's not easy. All of a sudden you're working out of your home, internet's not working well. How do we get this done? It's been a challenge, and it's helped me kind of be creative on how do we do this. Even when during the process of Xinex getting acquired by GE, the normal process in mergers and acquisitions is, you have group meetings between the two groups. I didn't actually meet any of these people until about 6 weeks ago, face to face. And we had been talking to the folks at GE since late 2020. So it's really touched every aspect of the business. It's forced me to be a bit more flexible. It's forced me to change the way that I interact with my team. It's really been a challenge, I will say, to launch a new product virtually. Chitra and I and Deepak, we've had a relationship. It's easy for us, me to pick up the phone and do a quick Zoom and have 15-minute conversation. But if you're trying to talk to a new practitioner about a new product where that practitioner's office has never met you, it's very difficult. I think part of our challenge and my challenge in managing a team is, these virtual meetings are very, very effective. We can get some good point-to-point communication, but they tend to be very sterile. You don't get the opportunity for the 5-minute hallway conversation and those other small conversations that are very enriching. And sometimes having to schedule a 30-minute slot really restricts your ability to get things done. So trying to manage the business remotely is very difficult, especially when part of your team's not in the US. The biggest part of my team up until recently was primarily in Europe. So there's that 4 or 5 hours that comfortably overlap in between the EU and the US, so that makes it even more difficult. So I don't know that there's a playbook being made, but I think we should think about writing a playbook on how to lead, how to do these things during a very adverse time, because this is the first major thing that's happened public health wise, but we'll see what happens. Chances are there'll be another bug sometime, but we have to learn to be proactive, not as reactive, and find creative ways. Again, building new relationships is difficult from afar. Interacting with each other. I know if I was going to go visit you, Chitra, today, I'd be able to chat with your staff, get to know your other people. Here, it's just you and I having a conversation. So, I think that's where my challenge is getting that kind of lateral communication and trying to, get people to share ideas, because we're very, very point to point today. And, it's sort of a bit overly transactional. So I think that's my biggest challenge, is trying to figure out how do we best collaborate and how do we, share some more of the richness that we can get in communication. So, I'm cautiously optimistic things are opening up a bit. We still have some challenges with variants, but I think for me, life is getting somewhat more back to normal, and I think we can hope that we can have some more normal communications. So again, sometimes you have to embrace the gray, embrace the fact that no one's been here. I think if we all reflect on where we are today versus where we would have thought we would be a year ago, there's no right answer, right? Because I think it's been a very unpredictable time, and I think the key thing is to be flexible, listen, and be creative. Because again, this last time I checked on Amazon, there's no book on how to lead during this type of a time. And I think I talk to my peers at other companies. How are you handling this? How are you doing this? I talk to friends that are at other companies. I think that's, the other way that I've been very lucky, even friends who work at competitive businesses, we've been able to, sit down, have a coffee and say, I'm having this difficulty. How have you gotten around it? Obviously not sharing any business information, but trying to figure out how to best lead people and launch products.
Agreed. Great, very well said, very well said. And challenges are ongoing.
Yeah.
Yes, how to embrace it and come out of it. That's where we are.
Yeah, and again, I think we just have to rely on each other. And I think that's where, we have to grow and we have to grow together, because, if we just have these, very direct conversations, we need to be able to talk to multiple people. We need to, network. We need to rely on each other.
Mhm.
One of the biggest challenges I have too is, we've had virtual S&M meetings.
Mhm.
They're okay. They're great for getting credits. I've used them for that purpose. But my challenge has been all those other conversations, the whole way conversation with you and Deepak and getting together. Hey, how are you doing? Finding out about, new things that are happening in the field. That's what I really, really miss in this space is, being able to get together. I tell my wife it's, having adult conversations with people in your field. And that's where I think I've struggled the most, to try and kind of keep up with people and keep connected.
Mhm. Exactly. So moving on with your hobbies, knowing that your interests are in gardening, sports cars, soccer, coin collection, and hiking. Oh, I love hiking too. When and how do you find time to enjoy your hobbies?
So I think finding time never happens. You have to make time. I think that's something that is important for all of us to do, is find a balance and be able to be available for work, family, and self. And I think that's one of the terms that I never paid much attention to, but you hear more and more the past couple of months, is kind of the self-care piece. Taking care of yourself, doing something a little extra for yourself, your family, even if it's something silly like, movie night and you make some popcorn or whatever else, and just, spend it with your kids. Um, soccer, big news, Messi is now going to be playing for Paris, right? I think that's the latest thing.
Mhm.
I've never grown up with American sports, being first generation US, so was used to watching the German soccer games. So again, with friends, every once in a while, we'll get together and watch a game. And before I tore up my knee, we used to play every once in a while, but hopefully in a couple of weeks, we'll get back there. And I think that's all part of what's important for me right now is you take those times out in the backyard with the kids, spend some time with them. Coin collection is growing, which is always fun. And I think regardless where you are in life or what your passions are, you need to make the time, because if you don't make the time, more often than not, you don't find the time. Um, and so we're all tremendously busy. And even just, 15 minutes to, you know, watch a highlights reel of a European League soccer game can be just,
Mhm.
a good reboot for the brain. Um, Being outdoors is really my goals. And we were talking, it was interesting. My wife is a speech therapist, so she's in office. She does care, face to face.
Mhm.
Weekends, she likes being home in the garden. Right now, I'm sitting in my lavish office in my house here in Indiana.
Mhm.
On weekends, I want to get out. Let's go to the park. Let's walk. Let's take a bike ride. Let's do something else. So, you have to find a balance there as well, because she's happy at home because she's in the office. I'm stuck at home, so I want to get out. So usually we try and split the weekend and do something for her one day, something for me the other day.
Mhm. Mhm. Very important, very important.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Work-life balance is a hard thing right now.
Yeah.
It's hard. I think all of us are putting more hours in the virtual world than when we went to an office day to day. And that can be a very, dangerous trap to fall into, doing the 15-hour day where you're sitting at a desk. So, being mindful of that and taking that time, it's, I think, even more important today than it was 2 years ago.
Great. So finally, what is your concluding message for the generation to come?
I think the key message I have is that we need to, in our field, keep the patient front and foremost. Need to always keep our eye on doing what the best thing is for our patients. I think that's one thing that's important. There's no I in care. It's a team approach. There's many paths there. I think take any opportunity for additional training, learning. If you would have asked me in 1985 as a student in nuclear medicine if I'd be running companies, I would never have seen myself having that talent, that skill. I would never have ever even imagined it. So don't just ever underestimate yourself. I think everyone is capable of doing great things. And I think everyone has the ability to do whatever they want to do. I've told my kids, I said, the only limitation to your dreams and your path in life are the limitations you put on yourself. I came from meager means. My dad died when I was 16. My mom never worked in this country. I had, I had no safety net out there. I had to do this myself, and there's no magic formula. I didn't have a grand plan, but I worked hard. I took every opportunity that came to me. I created a few myself. I've been involved in 5 startups since 2000. And sometimes you have to embrace the failures. I know someone smarter than me said, if you're not trying hard, if you don't fail once in a while, you're not trying hard enough. And I think that's the key thing is you can't be afraid of failure. We talk about embracing the red here in GE. We have our red lights and green lights on projects, and you can't feel disappointed that you're running into problems. If you're running into difficulties, just means that maybe you need a different perspective. You need someone else to come in and you put a fresh eye on a situation. So, again, embrace the discomfort, embrace the ability to make some mistakes and learn from the mistakes. We've all done it. Sometimes things don't work out as we expect, and that's okay. The key thing is keep on learning, keep on applying that knowledge, and surround yourself with people smarter than you, because at the end of the day, I didn't get here by myself. I got here with the help of wonderful people that have helped me and helped fill in my gaps. And I think that's key is having that network of people, having people you can rely on, and again, being able to feel comfortable, kind of going outside your comfort zone. If you're only taking the safe decision every single day, you'll probably do fine. But sometimes you have to move out over to the edge and push the limit just a bit. So, again, I don't think there's any magic formula, but in my mind, the most important thing is learning, pushing every day, wake up every day. My goal is today, I'm going to learn something new from every person I talk to. And typically I do. And that's for me refreshing and helps me understand other people, helps me understand the business, helps me understand how to move forward.
Agree. Very well said. I tell my kids and even my team, sky is the limit and it's never too late to learn.
No, no,
Absolutely.
absolutely. And it's just important to have those dreams and aspirations.
Mhm.
And even at this point in my career, I talked to my boss and he says, "So what would you like to do before before you grow up?" I said, "I'd love to be able to work on a therapeutic,
Mhm.
right? I still have goals. I still have somewhere I'd like to be. I'd love to be able to work on a therapeutic. Don't know what that one is yet, but get that out there and help change more lives."
Mhm. I agree. Right. Deepak, you have worked with Peter as well. Do you have something to say?
Yes, I did. I've had the honor and opportunity to work with Peter and actually consider him as one of my mentors. And thank you, Peter, for that. It was very interesting to hear your journey and the way that you have progressed. You've learned from people, not afraid to take something on. You know. Uh, Different or uncomfortable, and that's where a lot of I think philosophies align, in my opinion. The way that I am moving to, of course, you've come a much larger distance from a much different place than I've been at. um, but I think um, one of the things that I keep telling people is education is important. Absolutely. But education might be overrated sometimes. So yeah, the degree that goes along, you need to have an MBA to do a certain thing, or you need to have an MD to do a certain thing, probably is a little overrated. I mean, it helps, absolutely. But it may be not essential. And what is essential is all the qualities that you just described in the past 15-20 minutes, right? So everything that you keep learning lifelong, um, go for the uncomfortable situations, because those are all learning situations. Not be afraid to fail. I've been lucky by having a safety net all around me all the time. So even when I had failed, I fall back on a safety net, not have to worry too much about failing. But take advantage of those situations where you don't have to worry about failing at all. Certainly, one aspect which I am, at least currently in my life, I'm a little bit lagging behind, is taking care of yourself. I gotta spend more time. I'm acutely aware of it. Hoping that within the next few months or so, I'm to get to a point where I will be able to do that. There is only one question, which is kind of, let's see how you answer that. Right. In your coin collection,
Mhm.
when do you think you're going to add Bitcoin?
I like that question.
I unfortunately, in that space, in the investing space, the safe bet is to not buy whatever I'm buying, because I'll usually buy it at the high point. I took a little adventure, and my next door neighbor was, "Oh, you need to try Litecoin, whatever else." What did I do? I bought it at the high, and now I've got $500 of Litecoin that I probably bought it at $1,000. So, I look at it, the physical coin is a lot simpler, it's tangible. I was also that person that, back in the 90s said, why would I buy Amazon where, there's this just ether here where you've got Barnes and Nobles, where you've got, the Starbucks is physical things. And we all know where that, those both stocks wound up. And Deepak, I like what you had said there about, the non-traditional learning piece. There's that formal piece. I've had people say, well, having the right degree is like having the right uniform. But listen, I don't have a PhD. I don't have my MBA. I've been able to take the opportunity to do a lot of non-traditional things. Both my sons are dyslexic, so they're your classic non-traditional learners. And I think I've learned from them as well on how to take different approaches, because reading a book and things that may be very easy for us can be tremendously difficult for those people that have alternate abilities. So I think having those guys in my life has also helped me approach my own development a different way, saying, well, maybe I don't have the opportunity to take a pause in earning and go back and get my PhD. But again, it goes back to, you have an opportunity for taking a session, training something, an online class, do it. The net effect is going to be nothing but positive on your life. And again,
Absolutely.
I'll let you know whenever I buy a stock or something, so this way you can buy the opposite.
Yeah, and then we can balance it out.
I agree. So we will be concluding our session. Thank you again, Peter. I truly appreciated that you took time out of your busy schedule and gave us your valuable 20 to 25 minutes. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity, and happy to help however I can, and happy to mentor and hopefully inspire a couple of young professionals that are looking at a long and prosperous career ahead of them.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Peter, and thank you, Chitra, for organizing and managing this session.
Thank
Take
you,
care all.
Deepak, as
Thank you.
well.
Okay, bye-bye.